Hey there, this is Patrick with Dallas Hockey Hangout, coming to you after a Stars 3-2 shootout win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Never count Dallas out of a game. You would be very foolish to count the Stars out of a game. They are as never bury them as a team as anyone in the league right now, and I think you can make a pretty strong case for over the past several years. Dallas certainly does seem to have that clutch gene. So we'll start off with how we should be viewing this team, because as we get these few like tonight's major factor to me is the fact that Pittsburgh is sitting on 2 days rest and Dallas is playing its 50th game in the 51 nights. It's crazy the amount of games they're playing, and how fast they're coming, and you figure Dallas would be laying an egg on the scoreboard at least, but they're 8-0-2 in their past 10 games. So second in the league in points and tied with the Capitals in goal differential at plus 28, I believe. So I feel like it's enough sample size to really feel like the Stars are who we thought they were. But I think why I want to continue doing this segment of how should we view this team, because every game it seems like there's a major injury or a lineup change or some sort of thing happening with this team right now. They don't lack for entertainment, that's for sure. But I'm still reeling after losing Tyler Seguin, so I feel like the team's going to adjust a little bit offensively. I wouldn't be surprised to see them sort of continue to struggle offensively. But no Bichel. This guy's been with the team since the start of the season. So, two major pieces. And then you add in two other major pieces today. So that was really great news to see Nils Lundkvist come back and play well, seemingly. He was Dallas's best defenseman statistically, as far as shots for, shots against, chances. But, what's that tell you about Miro Heiskanen when he can have a quote-unquote off game and still come up with one of the biggest goals of the season, at least one of Dallas's few game time goals, with, I believe, was their first 6-on-5 goal. So, but yeah, Dallas should be continued to view, at least for the next 20 to 30 games, as a team in transition. Still playing some guys that weren't on the team and to start the year, and they're playing fairly big minutes. Look at the defenseman minutes today. Niels came right in and played 16 minutes. And Petrovic, you're looking at him now. So you've got Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, and there's a pretty strong case to be made for Petrovic as your third best defender at this point. I think Niels will give him a run, at least as far as play is concerned. But certainly Petro's just stepped right in and picked back up from where he left off in the playoffs, and continue to be impressed by him. And really, Capobianco and Kolyachonok have just really played their parts perfectly. Come in, don't make major mistakes. If you can contribute offensively, great, which they have. So how I view this team is, they didn't play their best game tonight. I think that's clear. They looked tired. The second period was not good. Pittsburgh was really had the puck much of the period, and Dallas was scrambling a lot. They also just kind of packed it into a shell a little bit. It just looked like they had sluggish legs. But I think that's what's so important. Is seems fairly obvious that Dallas is down a pint offensively, or just overall energy-wise at times. But I think that's also what makes this team so special, is that they really only need one period. If you can just play, if you're the Stars and you can play two average periods, but then flip the switch like they do, and then just do all-star level period, it seems to be working out for Dallas. That said, their offense has fallen off a little bit. So as far as like shot creation and grade A chances, but that said, Dallas got plenty of chances this game. I think that's what's so interesting and why I want to continue to do this segment is because, I think if you were to look at it from, far away, you'd say Dallas didn't play very well the first half of the game, second period. But also, they easily could have won this game in regulation or overtime for that matter. You had Wyatt with a all in front chance with like 5 seconds left to go. Pittsburgh really was trying to give it away. And then in overtime, you had Robertson with 2 grade A chances. Felt like Dallas really could have ended the game earlier. Let's face it, this was already a bonus point for the Stars, the first one. And then so to get the second one is just really awesome comeback. And, is it repeatable success to continually put yourself behind the 8 ball, fall behind? Of course not. But in all my time watching these Stars teams, it really does seem like this is up there with the teams that can really just turn it on whenever they want offensively. I think a lot of the second period had a lot to do with Pittsburgh had the puck, but also Dallas does such good defensive work most of the time to keep their opponents to the outside and, get them to fall into be shooting from angles they probably don't want to be shooting from. So, Pittsburgh definitely dominated most of the second. But that said, I couldn't sit here and tell you that guy missed a grade A chance. They were, nothing stood out. So now that said, if Dallas plays like this 10 more times, they're probably not going to win 5 of those games because largely they didn't have the puck. And when you don't have the puck, you're chasing and just low opportunity to get back in the game. So I think that's why this win is so awesome. It's just, it seemed like through the first 2 periods that they were pretty out of it. And then third period, they wake up and then finally they start to draw, feel like they could have drew a few penalties there in the third period, but they get that one late, don't score on it, but get some good chances and then get the 6-on-5s. That was a big face-off win by Rope Hintz on Miro Heiskanen's goal. So kind of hit to 2 subjects here. How should we view this team? One, and I'm going to start branding them as the never out of a game Stars. They're never out of a game. They rarely give up that second or third deficit goal. They just always hang around. And even still, they have such a good strategy, I believe, defensively that they're fine with it being low event and not many offensive chances because between Rope, Robertson, Wyatt, and Rantanen alone, those guys can just do it themselves. Try and make a basketball reference. I feel like all of them are Kyrie Irving and that they can get their own shot and also be the playmaker facilitator if they have to be. So, to stick with that theme, there are 26 NBA teams that would love to have Kyrie Irving on their team. Sans a few guys with young guys at the 1 or 2, but guess I probably shouldn't cross-pollinate sports. But that said, Dallas has 4 guys right now that can just flip the switch and be the best player in the game. And I feel like Rope is taking a little bit backseat and he's fine with that. Honestly, he seems that way. But then, look, you add in Jamie Benn, which I can't wait to talk about him. And you add in Duchesne. I think Duchesne's part of that group as far as guys that are truly can flip the switch. And despite Jamie's miles and age, which is all relative because I'm older than Jamie Benn, I feel like he can do that too. Let's just do 3 stars so I can, talk about Jamie. But, first star was a little bit difficult, but it shouldn't have been. And I feel like it's probably one of the quietest first stars I've seen from Jake Ottinger in a bit. He's first star 99 times out of 100 when he's on his game. And the goalie position is what it is. It's the most important. You can make the case that it's the most important position in sports. Daryl Ray, Razor, if you hear this, please, I'd love to hear your perspective on, is the goalie more important than the NFL quarterback? Man, that's a really good hypothetical. I think people will always say quarterback because they're creating the offense, but man, if you can just keep everyone from scoring, man, and you stop all the shootout goals, like, you could truly be a one-man band. That said, in the NFL, you could just run the ball every game. Interesting hypothetical I've stumbled upon, but yeah, Jake's number one star. This guy's one of the top 10 goalies in the league. I always say top 5, but Jake struggles with consistency a little bit. I'm such a big fan of Jake. I really do believe he's a top 5 goalie, but I think he wants to play 60 plus games, and I feel like Jake might be a better 50 to 60 game player. But no one send this to him because I love Jake's game. The guy's as unflappable as it gets when he's on his game, and the times at which he's not on his game, how often is it pretty, safe to assume that the stars are also not on their game, especially defensively. 27 out of 29, he made big stops in the second to keep it close, including those power plays that they got. Yeah, so midway through the second and then a little later into the second, Jamie Bing hooking on Crosby. I'd love to see that one again. Crosby wasn't very good tonight. I'll catch all his games when I can, but he was pretty off. I thought his passes were off. He looked, I don't know, maybe he was rusty. Pittsburgh had been sitting for 2 days. Sid is getting older. I do wonder about, a little bit of inactivity there just for him, just individually. But what can you say about Sidney? He's just incredible. He and Ovechkin deserve every flower they are going to get as this league, as they age and, kind of in towards the end of their careers, because they've just carried they have been the faces of the league. And it feels like just recently we might have, that next crop of people with like Bedard and Celebrini. Not that there aren't any other young guys in the league, plenty of young guys. I know Wyatt Johnston being one of them. I feel like he's so young and people already know what he is. I feel like he's going to continue to go under the radar for much of his career, probably while he's in Dallas. But yeah, back to 3 stars. Jake, unequivocally, number one, completely deserved it, but very quiet first star, I thought. Dallas did so good to fight back in the third. I didn't think he had to make a ton of major saves, but I definitely loved his presence in overtime. He's got that like sixth sense, spider sense to keep the puck going and the play moving. I love that about him in overtime. I feel like they really feed off that like constant motion and possession, and Dallas has shown that when they do well in overtime, it's because they have the possession most of the time. So Jake makes the stops and gets the puck out, and probably is a big reason they had so many on-man rushes in overtime. So you had Robertson with 2 different chances to win it in overtime, partly because of Jake's willingness to keep the play going. But yeah, a second star, Jamie Benn. I want to give him a hot minute here because they lose Sagan. Ben is just coming back, and I think Jamie is such a interesting player to get opinions on from both outside the league, who seems to hate him, rightfully so, because they hate him because they ain't him. He's just a beast and imposes his will on most of the teams he's played. So I would imagine he's made a pretty big impression on most fans around this league, and it should be that way. Captain setting the tone physically, nasty attitude, goal scorer, just does everything Dallas needs. But, the back-to-back 2-on-1s between, Rope and Jamie, and then the second one was actually a 2-on-2, but because the pass was so good from Rope to Jamie, and Jamie's lightning fast release. They made Matt Dumba look like pretty embarrassed. I think Razor said on the broadcast that they clowned him. Also, Jamie had that big hit on Dumba earlier in the game that was massive. And man, you get a big hit like that from Jamie Benn, this guy changes a game. He puts the energy into the home crowd, and then the Stars feed off that. That's what's so great about hockey. You can immediately have a non-goal scoring play flip the game on its head. And there aren't a ton of sports out there like that I think do it as great as hockey like that. So, and then third star, Tommy Novak for Pittsburgh, he had the deflection, at the time was the goal ahead, second goal. But yeah, I mean, Jamie Benn is going to be really important for this team. And then as Duchesne continues to ramp up, I feel like the more that they can rely on Jamie with that Robertson and Hintz line, which line is better right now? Robertson, Hintz, Benn, or Rantanen, Steele, Johnston? I think it's actually Robertson, but the same guys playing the power play. So essentially those two lines are really cooking. That's why you wonder why Dallas is continuing to do well while they have these off periods, or maybe they're not so good defensively, is because they have two top lines. And they've traditionally had that over the past decade to where it's the two top. Now, how are our third and fourth line? I feel like, at least how I look at it now, I look at, man, third and fourth line is just bonus. You get goals from that, great. But if you can check and defend with the third and fourth lines, I feel like the first two lines are going to get enough opportunities to where you should have an opportunity to win the game if they're playing like they should be playing. So, I'm still evaluating Bork's game. He's playing third and fourth line minutes, but I feel like he's got several other levels that he could reach. So I love this win for Dallas. They were largely outplayed most of the game, but they outplayed Pittsburgh in the third period and in overtime, and obviously the shootout. So did they deserve 2 points? Probably not. But it's not a fluke at this point. It's a pattern for the Stars. They're never out of a game. They're unfazed when they're trailing. When they are trailing, they don't get out of system. They don't unnecessarily risk or pinch. They seem completely fine playing sound defensively and letting the other team make the mistakes and then capitalizing on that. It's a pretty tried and true formula, but I feel like with so many players in and out of the lineup that it's going to be one they lean on a lot this year, especially as they continue to have all of these like crazy schedules coming up. It's just crazy. Shout out all the season ticket holders for going to the games, because it's been a lot of driving, a lot of games in succession here. And then, Dallas to go the 7:00 game on Friday against San Jose, and then have 5:00 game at Pittsburgh against a team that's been resting for 2 days. To be down in the game and score with less than 3 minutes left with a goalie pulled to tie the game and then win in a shootout, like, where do I sign? It's just kind of laughable at this point. Like, what can you say about this team? What can you rip them for? They were lackluster in the second. Okay, well, they won the game. Doesn't matter. No one's going to be looking back. Oh, remember the 31st game of the season? I think technically it might have been the 30th, but remember this 30th game of the season and Dallas didn't play well in the second period? Well, did they lose? No, they won the game in a shootout against an Eastern Conference team in which they were giving away a point that didn't matter. So it's impossible to be negative about this team right now. It's so exciting to be a Stars fan, and it's so exciting to go to the American Airlines Center and feel like it doesn't matter if they lose this game, because they've been so consistent and so dominant that you just know that they're probably going to win the next one if they lose. So Dallas has done really, really, really well this year about, not getting in a rut. I think, let's look at the schedule really fast. They open the season with 3 straight wins, and then they lose 4 straight, which seems like years ago at this point. So they're 3-3-1, and then they have a couple back-to-back losses and overtime and a shootout, and they haven't had any back-to-back losses since. Like, seriously, they've had 2 sets of back-to-back losses. And the second set came in overtime and a shootout against Tampa Bay and Florida. So obviously we have enough sample size, but I mean, it's just incredible, this team's ability to bounce back from a loss. So they lose, on the road at New York, in which, they're leading for a change. And yeah, that could have potentially derailed this team. Nope, just come back and have the best one of the year. Literally the next night against New Jersey. So they've won 7 out of their last 8 games, and the one loss is a 2-1 lead that they had that was similar to this game, in that New York, I believe, pulled the goalie and then won in overtime. I mean, outside of that, they're really cooking. The other loss before that, Calgary, a shootout loss. And then the loss before that, 3-2 loss to the Islanders, who just beat Colorado and have a really good team. So in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games, they have 3 losses. 2 of them are in a shootout or overtime. They have one regulation loss in their last 16. That's insane. I have to do my math again. One regulation loss in their last 16 games. If Colorado wasn't the media darling that everyone loves to hop on, what would they be saying about the Stars right now? They'd say, well, I'm sure it would be of couching it as, well, they lost to Edmonton in the Western Conference Finals 2 straight. Oh yeah? How's Edmonton looking? Are they looking like that team as well? Like, new year, and there's not a team in the West right now that Dallas couldn't at the very least hang with in a series. They say styles make fights. Okay, well, seems like Dallas's style works against the Avs, because we know how they seem to continue to win in the playoffs when it matters. So even if you say that Dallas is not the better team, well, their style works. So maybe it doesn't work with Edmonton, but I think that it's pretty common that a lot of teams' style doesn't work with the best player in the league. The Stuart Skinner of it all is just a thing. But, if it was to pan out right now, I think Edmonton's going to do all they can. If Edmonton makes the playoffs, they're going to do all they can to not play Skinner in the playoffs. I just firmly believe that. I don't even think he's a bad goalie. I really don't. He just is not playing well this year, and the team is not playing well, which I just said about Oettinger as well. Like, when Oettinger is off, guess what? The Stars are off. Defensively, they're not playing well. Offensively, they're not, giving him some run support. So, I mean, when the Stars team plays bad consistently, I will call it like I see it, but it's just really hard to knock a team that has one regulation loss in its last 16 games. It's incredible. What a time to be a Stars fan right now. And we're only about, a third of the way through the season, and we get the Olympics this year. Like, thank you, Lord, so much for this great year of hockey ahead of us. Upcoming schedule. Oh, I did want to touch on Star Sharks, because I didn't do a pod there. Got a chance to take my family there, and man, that was a similar game in that it was a little slow. Dallas was sluggish at points, but so was San Jose, and I mean, ho-hum, just another 4-1 win. So, I mean, Dallas came through when they had to in the third after a 1-1 game. Another sign that this team continues to, it doesn't matter what situation, they're going to find a way to win the game. And when they don't find a way to win the game, it's probably because the other team is good. There just really haven't been a lot of situations this year in which Dallas has just been bad and exposed. Obviously, that 4-game losing streak to start the year, but I mean, they didn't look good in that Anaheim game. Never want to give up 7 goals for sure, but I mean, they were right there. They were in the game. They're not out of any game. So the 5-1 loss at home against Columbus is tough, but look at Columbus though. They're a good team. Stars fans may not get a chance to watch some of these like Islanders and Columbus teams, these Eastern Conference teams, but I mean, they can play out there. Dallas has got a little bit of a Eastern Conference swing coming up here with here in the next month. They play, let's see here, 6 Eastern Conference teams, including some pretty good ones. But yeah, let's just round it off. Any other notes I wanted to know before we do upcoming schedule? The shootout. Oettinger is so patient in the shootout, and I thought that he's just really, the confidence oozes out of him when he makes that glove save like he does. You know, that like snappy glove save, and then he just like calmly places it in front of him or in the face-off dot or whatever. Seeing him do that a couple times in this shootout was, you could tell he's on when he's doing that. But really good to see Duchesne get a chance. I thought, obviously, he's ramping up. I won't even begin to evaluate his game, because look at Jamie's game when he came back from his collapsed lung. He didn't play very much and was kind of, here or there. So when he gets fully up to speed and Duchesne starts playing 17, minutes a night, then we'll really start to see where he's at. But, coming off a concussion, which is very serious, I'm sure it's going to take him a while to ramp up. And then lastly, just, Rantanen's goal. He's just got such a quick release that I really think it caught Tristan Jarry off guard there. I saw some people calling it Tristan Jarry. Thought it was Jarry. I heard both Razor and Josh say Jarry on the broadcast, so I'm going to stick with Jarry. So yeah, moving on to the upcoming schedule. Doesn't get any more difficult than this. At Winnipeg on Tuesday and at Minnesota on Thursday. 2 huge divisional games. Like, doesn't really matter what Dallas is doing against Pittsburgh. These are the games that matter, really. If Dallas could get one of these, I would feel really good. I feel like they're going to be really challenging games. If they get Hellebuck on Tuesday, I'm sure that will be challenging. And, Minnesota is playing just about as well as Dallas. They've kind of fallen back to earth the last couple games, a couple losses, but still, Minnesota's going to be a challenge. I do feel confident in Dallas's matching up with Minnesota, but I always worry about Winnipeg. They're so good defensively, and they have a similar makeup to the Stars in that they've got guys like Connor and Scheifele and Nikolai Ehlers that can just like turn it on, and are guys that know how to play make and score. Both of these games are going to be pretty difficult. Oettinger's got the last 3 wins for the Stars, and obviously DeSmith played in that New York loss that probably should have been a win. But curious to see if Dallas gets. I feel like I would expect Oettinger to play both of these games, but they also have Florida at home this coming Saturday, so I would expect against the Cup champs. Like, you got to figure Jake is wanting to play in that game. There's Ben making his appearance on the podcast. Yeah, I'd be curious. I would love to see Oettinger play both those games in Winnipeg and in Minnesota, teams that you could be playing in the playoffs here. Would expect him to play both of those games, but we are getting to a point at which there's just so many games coming up. They got to try and find a way to get Jake a rest here. So looks like DeSmith has played in series, got 10 games. He's 6-1-3 this year. Man, how about those numbers? So he's got 10 out of 30 starts, so 10-20. If that, you 2-1, expect that to kind of continue. So that's right about 55 to 60 games for Jake, and DeSmith 20. Sounds about right. So yeah, curious to see who is in net for Dallas against Winnipeg and Minnesota. I hope for Jake's sake that he gets an opportunity to play in those games, because, here you got the USA narrative coming up. Is it Hellebuck? Is it Jake? Man, I cannot wait for the Olympics. I'm so excited about that. But yeah, if they could get one of those two, they're not easy places to play. And, teams are gearing up to play Dallas, especially these divisional games. I bet it's pretty nasty. I bet we see some fights too. So curious to see I bet there are going to be a lot of penalty minutes in those 2 games. So we'll see if Rantanen adds to his league leading penalty minutes this season. But I really appreciate you guys joining me. Stars take a 3-2 shootout win over the Pittsburgh Penguins in comeback fashion. If you guys have any questions, Dallas Hockey Hangout at gmail.com. You can always hit me up on Twitter, Patrick Hayslip. Yeah, I look forward to hearing from you guys and hopefully get some sort of dialogue and back and forth on these things. And maybe we hear a few other thoughts besides someone else, besides me. So yeah, really appreciate you guys joining me. Catch you after the Winnipeg game. Have a good night.